Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology as we get close to the end here for our quick missions. Today we'll be going through the Really? You're gonna do that now, G-Force? I gotta turn that off. But anyways, we're gonna go through the F-22's history, briefly of course. And by briefly I mean probably 30 to 40 minutes worth, but let's see. It's already set to Vladivostok. That's good. So we're just going to set up, like, I think the worst possible case we can set up here. We'll have Su-35s. 5 Ace Su-35s versus 5 Ace Raptors. We'll start at 20,000 feet. 20 miles. We don't want to take too long. Neutral. And custom weapons, no ground targets, because that's not our job, and we can't get the AI to go after ground targets, not unless I go into the Pro Mission Editor, which that's something we'll save for later. So we're going to take AMRAAMs and Sidewinders and an 80% fuel load, and with that we're going to jump right into the mission. Alright, so infrared tracking systems on, radar on, just a quick pulse. I want to see where they are, see if they can see us. And they can't see us yet, actually. I'll say I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Oh, now he sees our wingman at least. So, we'll tell our wingman to have at it. Throw on our own jammers. Looks like this guy's ahead of the rest. He must have, I'm guessing he spotted people before the rest of his posse did. And I don't feel bad about doubling up on missiles here, since these guys can take 2 AMRAAMs to kill here, so let's just get all our AMRAAMs off the rails. And alright, we got one. This one's heavily damaged. Let's see here. There's our wingman. This guy's getting into Sidewinder range. Oh, he's dead now. We got, looks like one guy's targeting us, but the rest are in pretty close. This guy's firing at our wingman. He's dead. Let's dodge that radar missile. There we go. Let's see, where is...
Mission accomplished.
Okay, wingman got him, so...
Disengage.
We'll have everyone disengage. We can put off our jammers. Range on our radar a bit. Not that it really matters at this point. And looks like no casualties.
Tighten up. Line astern formation, echelon formation.
And we'll put them into our favorite formation, which is the echelon type formation. And we will set a course for Kraskino, I think it is. Kraskino. Alright, so then that leaves us to very quickly take on the history of the F-22 Raptor, at least for a little bit. Oh yeah, that's just... what we have here is just a thing of beauty. But in any case, the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor is a 5th generation single-seat, twin-engine, all-weather stealth tactical fighter aircraft developed for the United States Air Force as a result of the Advanced Tactical Fighter Program, which was designed primarily as an air superiority fighter, but also has limited ground attack, electronic warfare, and signal intelligence capabilities due to its advanced sensors. And Lockheed Martin built mostly F-22's airframe and weapon systems and did final assembly, while Boeing provided the wings, fuselage, avionics, integration, and training systems. So I think this is kind of a... you know, they say the Air Force does these winner-take-all programs, but here we see, you know, it was the... I think it was, what, Lockheed Martin's F-22 versus Northrop Grumman's X-23, and I think Boeing helped. I thought Boeing helped with Northrop Grumman, but I'm not 100% sure on that. In any case, the aircraft was variously designated the F-22 and the F-A-22 before it entered service as the F-22A, and it is a critical component of the service's tactical air power due to its combination of stealth, aerodynamic performance, situational awareness, and unprecedented air combat capabilities. And originally, there was planned to be 750 F-22s purchased, but in 2009, the program was cut to 187 production aircraft due to high costs and a lack of a clear air-to-air mission due to delays in the Russian-Chinese fighter programs, as well as the ban on exports and the development of the F-35. So the last F-22 was delivered in 2012. Now the origin of this was, as mentioned previously, in the Advanced Tactical Fighter program, as in 1981 the Air Force wanted an advanced tactical fighter to succeed the F-15 Eagle. It was codenamed Senior Sky. It was influenced by emerging threats, including new Soviet air defense systems, as well as proliferation of the Se-27 and MiG-29 fighter aircraft, which were still relatively new at the time.
Clear to land.
Would take advantage of them. Actually, we gotta do our, Shirley can get a little better than that, I think. There we go. Hello there. Okay. Let's see. Zoom 0%. Okay. Now we can land. Had to get that publicity shot there. Oh wow, they're really tight.
Combat spread.
Okay, we should go on a combat spread now. But they wanted this new program to take advantage of new fighter technologies that had been in development for a while, including composite materials, lightweight alloys, advanced flight control systems, more powerful propulsion systems, and most importantly, of course, stealth technology. In 1983, the ATF Concept Development Team became the System Program Office and managed the program out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. A request for proposals was issued in September 1985 with requirements placing strong emphasis on stealth and supercruise.
Wind at 209.
And I think supercruise, next to stealth, supercruise is definitely what the Raptor's known for as it can supercruise. I want to say like Mach 1.6 without afterburners. And there were originally 7 bidders, that's interesting. But Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman were selected on the 31st of October 1986. Yep. Lockheed teamed with Boeing and General Dynamics, while Northrop teamed with McDonnell Douglas. And the two contractor teams undertook a 50-month demonstration phase, culminating in flight tests of 2 technology demonstrator prototypes, the YF-22 and the YF-23. Oh, my mistake there when I used the designation. And there we go. And as the program moved to full-scale development, the production version had notable differences from the YF-22, despite having a broadly similar shape. The swept-back angle of the leading edge was decreased from 48 to 42 degrees, while the vertical stabilizers were shifted rearward and decreased in area by 20%. To improve pilot visibility, the canopy was moved forward 7 inches, and the engine intakes moved rearward, rearward 14 inches. And we'll just bank slightly back onto the runway. Perfect. The shapes of the wing and stabilator trailing edges were refined to improve aerodynamic strength and stealth characteristics, and increasing weight during development caused slight reductions in range and maneuver performance. But that's typical, I think, of just about every fighter program, or any aircraft program in general, not even just fighters. But the original projected cost was going to be 750 F-22s at a total program cost of $44.3 billion, with a procurement cost of $26.2 billion in fiscal year 1985 dollars, with production beginning in 1994. However, in 1990 they reduced to 648 aircraft, and by 1997 they had cut it to 339, and then cut it again to 277 in 2003. And in 2004, they finally reduced it to the official 183, despite the Air Force's preferences for a minimum of 381. So the total program cost ended up being $62 billion, or enough F-22s to create 7 combat squadrons. And just a brief note is that the F-22 and its technologies cannot be exported under federal law, and this is because of it featured cutting-edge technologies. That's part of the reason why the F-35 was developed to provide a creative fighter that had a level of stealth that was suitable for export to allied nations. Although I do know that other countries have flown the F-22. I believe there was an exchange program between the US and the UK, or that special relationship. Like when we were on the F-117, we mentioned that British pilots had flown that to evaluate a possible purchase for that. And likewise, British pilots have flown the F-22. And both Australia, Israel, and Japan have shown interest in the F-22, but obviously because we refused to make it available, none of them were ever able to buy it. And the F-22 has been upgraded over time. It's got an improved AN/APG-77B1 radar over the original AN/APG-77, and this radar is better than the original. That includes air-to-ground modes by default, and it also, starting with increment 3.1 for Block 30 aircraft, they have improved capabilities, including synthetic aperture radar mapping and radar emitter direction finding, electronic attack capability, and small diameter bomb integration. That's the unique thing about ASA radars, is that if you program them right, you can conduct electronic warfare with them as well as just general detection. Although I presume that if you're conducting electronic warfare with a radar, you can't use it for detection and vice versa. Then increment 3.2 for Block 3540 aircraft include a 3.2A to focus on electronic warfare, communications, and identification. While 3.2B includes geolocation improvements and a new stores management system to show correct symbols for the AIM-9X and AIM-120D, as well as to enable two-way communication with other platforms. The F-22 can use the Battlefield Airborne Communications Node as a gateway. The planned multifunction advanced data link integration was cut due to development delays and lack of proliferation among USAF platforms. The reason that's notable is because in order to maintain stealth, the communication systems of the F-22 was designed to be stealthy as well. So I think, I'm not wholly familiar with them, but I assume they'd be encrypted, narrowband, directed transmissions that other Air Force and Navy aircraft aren't equipped to communicate with. They can't receive them. And certainly they can't send messages back to the F-22 without compromising F-22's location. So that's the whole point. And the airborne battle node, communications battle node or whatever, is actually, it's like, I think it's just like a Learjet that's basically full of communication systems. So it can act as a relay between 4th and 4.5 generation aircraft and then 5th generation aircraft like the F-22. And in 2024, funding is projected to begin for the F-22 midlife upgrade, which is expected to include new sensors and antennas, a hardware refresh, cockpit improvements, and a helmet-mounted display and queuing system, with other enhancements being IRST functionality for the AN/AAR-56 missile launch detector and a more durable stealth going base in the F-35s. I fully expect that they might even incorporate the electro-optical targeting system of the F-35, as I think that's revolutionary. Just, when you have it tied to a helmet-mounted system where you can just see through the aircraft, I think something like that would be immensely valuable for the F-22. But in the long term, the F-22 will be succeeded by the 6th generation jet fighter program now in development. I believe, I know the Navy had the F/A-XX, I believe, and the Air Force had their next generation air dominance fighter, but I don't know if those programs have been combined yet. I think it's very likely if they haven't already, but each service did start on their own program. So the F-22 is powered by a Pratt & Whitney F-119 PW100 augmented turbofans, and they incorporate pitch-axis thrust vectoring nozzles with a range of plus or minus 20 degrees, and each engine has maximum thrust in the 35,000-pound class. The F-22's thrust-to-weight ratio at typical combat weight is nearly at unity in maximum military power and 1.25 in full afterburner. Maximum speed without external stores is approximately 1.8 in military power and greater than Mach 2 with afterburners. So when it's empty or close to empty, I wouldn't be surprised if she can get close to Mach 3. And certainly if you're going, if you have partially empty fuel and you're just carrying a pure air-to-air loadout, air-to-air weapons don't add it nearly as much weight as air-to-ground weapons, so she could go pretty fast, I imagine. And the high cruising speed and operating altitude over prior fighters also improves the effectiveness of the F-22 sensors and weapon systems, since it can have that energy advantage from being higher up. And it can also be more fuel efficient at those higher altitudes and maintain supersonic flight without having to use the afterburners. So you can have regular combat speeds of Mach 1.5 at 50,000 feet without afterburners. And then, of course, the weapons base permits the aircraft to maintain a higher level of aerodynamics relative to other aircraft, because it's shaped to be, permanently aerodynamic, as well as stealthy too. So it has amazing maneuverability for its class, and just a generally large flight envelope that can perform well at any portion of that envelope. And it is capable of flying at trimmed alpha of over 60 degrees while maintaining roll control and performing maneuvers such as the Herbst maneuver and Pugachev's Cobra. Avionics include, as mentioned before, the Sanders General Electric AN/ALR-94 electronic warfare system, the Lockheed Martin AN/AAR-56 infrared and ultraviolet missile launch detector, and the Westinghouse Texas Instruments AN/APG-77 active electronically scanned array radar, which, as mentioned, is the second ACE radar to ever be deployed on combat aircraft. The missile launch detector uses 6 sensors to provide full spherical infrared coverage, so it's basically kind of like a proto EOTS, like on the F-35. And it also has 4 antennas as part of the ALR-94 system that can detect radar emissions from up to a range of 250 nautical miles. And it looks like it can, it can cue radar emissions to be confined to a narrow beam down to 2 degrees by 2 degrees in azimuth and elevation to increase stealth. Depending on the detected threat, the defensive systems can prompt the pilot to release countermeasures such as flares or chaff. And the ALR-94 can also be used as a passive detection system capable of searching targets and providing enough information for a radar lockout. Tactical communication between F-22s is provided using the directional inter-intra flight data link. And the APG-77 is, of course, a low observable active aperture electronically scanned array that can attack multiple targets under any weather conditions, and with the later block upgrades, radar missions can also be focused to overload enemy sensors as an electronic attack capability. And it changes frequencies more than 1,000 times per second to lower interception probability, and has a range of about 150 miles against a 1 meter squared target, and 250 miles with or more in narrow beams. And then, as mentioned, the V1 variant does have the added functionality of synthetic aperture radar and various ground strike modes, although personally I think these are somewhat limited to use, as the only air-to-ground weapons that I believe the F-22 is rated to carry at the moment include the JDAM and the small diameter bombs. But because of its stealth and sensors, the F-22 has often been used as a sensor platform akin to the RC-135 rivet joint, and I believe it was used as such during the opening days of the United States intervention in Syria. Armament, which of course is the thing everyone wants to know about. The F-22 has 3 internal weapons bay, a large main bay on the bottom of the fuselage, and 2 smaller bays on the sides of the fuselage after the engine intakes. The main bay is split along the center line and can accommodate 6 LAU-142A launchers for BVR missiles, and each side bay has an LAU-141A launcher for short-range missiles. 4 of the launchers in the main bay can be replaced by 2 bomb racks that can each carry 1 1,000-pound or 4 250-pound bombs. And, of course, carrying armaments internally maintains the aircraft's stealth and minimizes additional drag, so you only have to deal with the additional weight of the weapon. Missile launches require the bay doors to be open for less than a second, during which hydraulic arms push missiles clear of the aircraft. This is to reduce vulnerability to detection and to deploy missiles during high-speed flight. Yeah, it cannot self-designate for laser-guided weapons. Internal air-to-surface ordnance is limited to 2,000 pounds. It also has an internally mounted M61A2 Vulcan 20mm rotary cannon embedded in the aircraft's right wing root, with the muzzle covered by a retractable door to maintain stealth. Radar projection of the cannon's fire path is displayed on the pilot's head-up display. And because of the high cruise speed and altitude, as before, it helps to increase the efficiency of its munitions, with up to a 50% greater engagement range for the AIM-120 AMRAAM and twice the effective range for JDAMs than earlier platforms that dropped from max altitude and speed. In testing, an F-22 dropped a GBU-32 JDAM from 50,000 feet while cruising at Mach 1.5, striking a moving target 24 miles away. And remember, the JDAM is an unpowered GPS-guided bomb. And while the F-22 typically carries its load internally, the wings do include 4 hardpoint seats rated to handle 5,000 pounds. Oftentimes these are used to accommodate a pylon that can carry a 600-gallon external fuel tank, but they can also accommodate a launcher holding 2 air-to-air missiles, and the 2 inboard hardpoints are plumbed for external fuel tanks. These, of course, grade the aircraft's stealth and kinematic performance, but they increase its firepower, so it can be useful in a low-threat environment, such as if you just want to blast a bunch of MiG-21s or something. Now, the F-22 was designed to be highly difficult to detect and track by radar. Measures to reduce radar cross-section include airframe shaping, such as alignment of edges, fixed geometry, serpentine inlets, and curved beams that prevent line of sight of the engine faces and turbines from any exterior view, the use of radar-absorbent material, and attention to details such as hinges and pilot helmets that could provide a radar return. The F-22 was also designed to have decreased radio emissions, infrared signature, and acoustic signature, as well as reduced visibility to the naked eye. The aircraft's flat thrust factoring nozzles reduce infrared emissions of the exhaust plume to mitigate the threat of infrared surface-to-air or air-to-air missiles. And additional measures to reduce the infrared signature include special top coat and active cooling of leading edges to manage the heat buildup from supersonic flight. Compared to previous stealth designs like the F-117, the F-22 is less reliant on radar absorbent material, which are maintenance intensive and susceptible to adverse weather conditions. Unlike the B-2, which requires climate-controlled hangars, the F-22 can undergo repairs on the flight line or in a normal hangar. The F-22 has a signature assessment system which delivers warnings when the radar signature is degraded and necessitates repair. While the F-22's exact RCS is classified, in 2009 Lockheed Martin released information indicating that from certain angles the aircraft has an RCS of 0.0001 meters squared, or negative 40 dBSM, equivalent to the radar reflection of a steel marble. Effectively maintaining the stealth features can decrease the F-22's mission-capable rate to 62 or 70%. And unlike some aircraft, such as the recent Russian and Chinese fighter designs, or even the F-35, the F-22 is designed to maintain all aspects stealth, which is why it has the rectangular engine exhaust. And my favorite story with the F-22 is that, according to the USAF, an F-22 surprised an Iranian F-4 Phantom II that was attempting to intercept an American UAV, despite Iran's assertion of having military VHF radar coverage over the Persian Gulf. Reportedly, the Phantoms were vectoring in on an American UAV, and Raptor pilots were directed to intercept, and they rolled up under the Phantom, took a look at his armament, and then radioed the pilot, reciting to him, all the armaments that he could see, and then say, "Get out, you don't belong here," or something along those lines. Honestly, my favorite story. In fact, I think there was an Air Force pilot who also dabbled in painting at EAA one year that was selling, or I don't even think he was selling, I think he was just giving away signed posters of that, and they were signed either by him or the pilot who was in the encounter. And the point about the military VHF radar coverage is that a lot of stealth is optimized against the higher frequencies that are used for actual targeting of weapon systems. And not as much care is given to the lower frequencies, like VHF frequencies. So they are a bit more susceptible to being detected on those. But those radars also have a lot less resolution, so they could easily just be interpreted as clutter, or even if you do identify it as a stealth aircraft, it can be hard to actually locate exactly where it is. It just tells you that, oh, there's one in, maybe this general area we're surveying. As far as the operational history goes, the unofficial name of the F-22 is the Lightning II, after the World War II era Lockheed P-38 Lightning, but it was officially named the Raptor, with the Lightning II given to the F-35. The aircraft was also briefly dubbed the Superstar and Rapier. And for a little while it was actually called the FA-22 when the Air Force wanted to mimic the Navy's FA-18 Hornet designation, to highlight a play and ground attack capability amid debate over the aircraft's role and relevance, but the F-22 was reinstated because, again, it can only deliver a handful of smart bombs. Flight testing of the F-22 began in 1997 with Raptor 4001, the first EMD jet, and 8 more EMD F-22s would participate in flight testing at Edwards Air Force Base. In August 2008, unmodified F-22, the 411th Flight Test Squadron performed the first ever air-to-air refueling of an aircraft using synthetic jet fuel as part of a wider United States Air Force effort to qualify aircraft to use the fuel. A 50-50 mix of JP-8 and a Fischer-Tropsch process-produced natural gas-based fuel. In 2011, an F-22 flew supersonic on a 50% mixture of biofuel derived from camelina. In December 2005, the United States Air Force announced that the F-22 had achieved initial operational capability. During Exercise Northern Edge in Alaska in June 2006, and simulated combat exercises, 12 F-22s of the 94th Fighter Squadron downed 108 adversaries with no losses. In the exercise, the Raptor led Blue Force amassed 241 kills against 2 losses in air-to-air combat, with neither loss being an F-22. During Exercise Red Flag 07-1 in February 07, 14 F-22s in the 94th Fighter Squad supported Blue Force strikes and undertook close air support sorties. Against superior numbers of Red Force aggressor F-15s and F-16s, 6 to 8 F-22s maintained air dominance throughout and provided airborne electronic surveillance. No sorties were missed because of maintenance or other failures, and a single F-22 was judged lost against the defeating opposing force. The F-22 achieved full operational capability in December 2007 when General John Corley of Air Combat Command officially declared the F-22s of the Integrated Active-Duty 1st Fighter Wing of Virginia Air National Guard 192nd Fighter Wing fully operational. This was followed by an operational readiness inspection of the Integrated Wing in April 2008, in which it was rated excellent in all categories with a simulated kill ratio of 21-0. And I think it's important to know, from my knowledge of Red Flag, and I could be wrong and things could have changed since I've heard this information, but normally you have the Blue Force, which is, they set up your Blue Force, this is the aircraft you get, this is the pilots you get, and over, I think it's 2 weeks, maybe a month, that is the only force Blue gets. They might get a handful of reinforcements at, pre-designated times, but that's generally what they have to work with, so they have to be very careful to avoid losses. Whereas the Red Force normally is flown by aggressor wings, and I believe they basically get to respawn whenever they die. So they might seem to be a smaller force, but they can come back day after day after day to pick away at the Blue Force. So the fact that they got so many kills is really astonishing. And F-22s have been frequently deployed to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan, as well as they are also deployed often at Elmdorf Air Force Base, Alaska, where they often intercept Russian Tu-95 bombers, as well as Tu-160 bombers. Initially, we refused to deploy with the F-22s back in 2007, but they made their first deployment at Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE in 2009, and by April of 2012, F-22s often rotate into Al Dhafra, which is less than 200 miles from Iran. And Iran obviously considers that a security threat, and those are where the F-22s came from that intercepted the F-4. On 22nd of September 2014, F-22s performed the type's first combat sorties by conducting some of the opening strikes of Operation Inherent Resolve, the American-led intervention in Syria, where they dropped 1,000-pound GPS-guided bombs on Islamic State targets near Tishrin Dam. I believe they also served as escorts for less stealthy strike aircraft, just in case Syrian air defenses responded. Because, obviously we wouldn't tell them in advance we were going to hit military targets in their own territory. Why would we do that? Between September 2014 and July 2015, F-22s flew 204 sorties over Syria, dropping 270 bombs at some 60 locations. Throughout their deployment, F-22s conducted close air support and also deterred Syrian, Iranian, and Russian aircraft from attacking U.S.-backed Kurdish forces and disrupting U.S. operations in the region. F-22s also participated in the U.S. strikes on pro-government forces in eastern Syria on the 7th of February 2018. These strikes notwithstanding, the F-22's main role in the operation was gathering intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. In late 2014, the USAF was testing a rapid deployment concept involving 4 F-22s and 1 C-17 for support, first proposed in 2008 by 2 F-22 pilots. The goal was for the type to be able to set up and engage in combat within 24 hours. 4 F-22s were deployed to Spangdalam Air Base in Germany in August, and Lask Air Base in Poland, and Amari Air Base in Estonia in September of 2015 to train with NATO allies. In November 2017, F-22s operating alongside B-52s bombed opium production and storage facilities in Taliban-controlled regions of Afghanistan. And most of the problems with the F-22 include maintenance of the RAM coating, which again is supposed to be upgraded to one based on the F-35s that's going to be more durable, as well as the problem that's plagued many Air Force platforms, which is failures of the oxygen system, which can cause various psychiatric or psychological problems in addition to physical ones such as, blacking out from lack of oxygen. The Air Force has been working on that. I think they've been making progress. And as far as variants, there's the YF-22A, which is the pre-production demonstrator, the F-22A, which is the single-seat production version, and F-22B, which is the planned two-seat variant, canceled in 1996 to save development costs. Whether that second seat would have merely been a trainer or an operational seat like the Super Hornet, I don't know. And then there was the Naval F-22 variant, a planned carrier-borne variant of the F-22 with variable sweep wings for the U.S. Navy's Navy Advanced Tactical Fighter program to replace the F-14 Tomcat. However, the program was canceled in 1993 due to the end of the Cold War and high costs. Just saying, there's an alternate universe out there somewhere where we actually did get that. But that's represented in this game by the F-22N, which we used in the later stages of the Ukraine campaign. And for those of you who play Shimano, or CMO as it is now, since they just released their second version, Command Modern Operations, for those who don't know, this is represented by the F-24 Hellcat 2 in the game's database as a hypothetical platform, which is what I've been meaning to ask them to update a bit, since I think they only have 2 entries, but there were a few proposed derivatives, including the FB-22, which was a proposed medium-range supersonic stealth bomber for the Air Force, kind of to replace the F-111, which would be, it would carry up to 30 small-diameter bombs to a range twice that of the F-22A. However, it was canceled in lieu of a larger subsonic bomber with a much greater range, which I believe is now coming to fruition as part of Northrop Grumman's B-21 bomber. And then there was the X-44 Manta, or multi-axis no-tail aircraft, which was a planned experimental aircraft based on the F-22 with enhanced thrust vectoring controls and no aerodynamic surface backup. It was to be solely controlled by thrust vectoring without any rudders, ailerons, or elevators. However, funding for this program was halted in 2000. And in August 2018, Lockheed Martin proposed an F-22 derivative to the United States Air Force and Japanese Air Self-Defense Force that would combine an improved F-22 airframe with the avionics and improved stealth coatings of the F-35. The proposal was not considered by the USAF, while the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force doubted its merits due to the cost and existing export restrictions. So, for what it's worth, Lockheed Martin did sort of try to revive the F-22 line, which I appreciate, because, I mean, honestly, but for the Air Force, it's a cost game, because they're already working on 6th-gen fighters, so any fighters they buy now cuts into that fund, which can cause it to take longer or suffer more delays, and then you end up needing more money to both, sub for the longer time you're without this fighter, as well as to buy the, to fund the program and buy the fighters from that program. So in the end, I think the Air Force has opted for a Strike Eagle derivative, the F-15X, to replace some of the older F-15Cs that were originally supposed to be replaced by the F-22 Raptor. And hopefully we won't need any more stock gigs. And that's one that they really have at a bargain price, since most of the development for the F-15X was undertaken by investments by Middle Eastern nations. I believe the Saudi Arabia and the UAE and maybe Israel, because they wanted their own Super Eagles. So now, because of that, we're able to get our Super Duper Eagle. And that's about it for what I have for the F-22. Super Cruise Mach 1.82 at altitude with a range in excess of 1,600 nautical miles with 2 external fuel tanks, a combat radius of 590 nautical miles in a clean subsonic configuration, or 460 nautical miles clean with 100 nautical miles in Super Cruise. Thruster weight is 1.25 with loaded weight and 50% internal fuel. And the standard air-to-air loadout is 6 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders, which somewhat matches what we have in the game. We normally go with, because of the way the bases are designed in the game, we end up going with a 4-4 mix, but the air-to-ground mission loadout would normally be 2,000-pound JDAMs or 8 250-pound GBU-39 small diameter bombs with a pair of AMRAAMs and Sidewinders for backup. And again, those hard points can, I believe, as of now, they can be fitted with dual weapon racks, so that's up to 8 AMRAAMs or Sidewinders. But I know as part of the F-15 Extra, I think Boeing developed a quad weapon rack to let you quad pack AMRAAMs in. So that could be an additional 16 AMRAAMs or Sidewinders in beast mode. And that's about it for what I have for the F-22 today. So we are going to call it here, I think, because certainly I've been rambling on enough. So why don't we do that? Mission success. You have successfully completed the quick mission. We had no casualties, no damage. Hey, I only took 40 minutes to ramble this time. That's not bad. Destroyed the 5 targets. It looks like neither us or our first wingman personally got any kills, but I know we assisted and that we got a few hits in. Yep, half hit. The other half were spoofed. Wingman 2 only had 1 hit, with the rest failing, presumably because his target was already shot down. And we had 2 missile launches on us. 1 failed, 1 was spoofed. So that is the power of the F-22 Raptor, and that engagement was over in seconds. And I believe even in the campaign, we went, we had sent our wingmen away, and we went 1-3 with Su-27 flankers, and came out on top. So that just shows how powerful the Raptor is. Thank you for sticking with me this long. I think next episode we'll go over the B2, and that'll be it for the quick mission showcases, so then we can start on the single missions and then proceed with the final vanilla campaign. So with that, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for next time, and we'll see you then.